Honda CR-V engine swap part 1 removal, and we're starting right now. Hello everyone and welcome, and we're going to get that engine pulled from the vehicle. Looks complicated, but it's all doable and we'll get the job done right. First, you want to remove the battery and disconnect all electricals, and you're safe to start the rest of the things. We're going to move from one side, disconnect, undo all connectors on one side and another side on the driver's side, on the front, and the firewall, and of course underneath. Undo the two fasteners for the air cleaner box, disconnect the throttle positioning sensor, undo that connector, disconnect the vacuum lines, undo the clamp, and we should be good to pull the air filter housing with a pipe all in one unit. Get it loosened up, and here we go. Okay, we are moving to the radiator. Remove the filler cap for better flow. Get your drain pan ready. Open up the drain cock valve and drain the coolant. Remove the upper and lower radiator hoses. Undo the hose clamps. Grab the hose firmly, turn from side to side, and pull it out. Another one on the bottom, where's the thermostat? Same thing. Remove the hose clamp, pull it out. And slide the hose off. Two coolant line for the transmission. I need to undo them. As you can see, they're all close together and the same diameter. Make sure we're going to put the lines in the same original position. Mark the one of them with a paint marker for the reference. Remove the clamps. And then pull the hoses. If you have any questions or something is not really clear, please ask down in the comments below, or if I am doing something wrong, tell me about it. Undo the expansion tank tube. Pull the expansion reservoir out. Dump a coolant. Disconnect the electrical connectors for the radiator fans, one on each side. Undo the radiator bracket bolts. Remove them. Sort all parts, put them in a proper container. Then you won't have the mess. You know where it came from. Undo the AC line retainer bracket. Now our radiator is free and it's ready to be pulled out. Pull the radiator out. Just wiggle from side to side. Watch, make sure it's not grabbing on anything. And it should come out like that. Bottom radiator hose. Feed it through. And here we go. There's the radiator. Now we have all that room available. We can work there. Put the cap back. Transfer the coolant into the sealed container. Make sure there's no animals can get there. It's a poison. Disconnect the cruise control vacuum module. There's a few bolts on the bottom. Undo the electrical connector for the cruise control vacuum module. Remove the bolts. One down below. And put it aside. You don't need to remove the whole unit. Yeah, now we need to remove the power steering pump from the engine block. We don't need to disconnect the power steering lines. Just undo the power steering pump from the bracket. There's a few bolts. And same way, we're just putting that pump to the side. There's one bolt at the top, another bolt on the bottom. Undo those ones. Remove the power steering bracket bolt at the top of the well cover. And now our power steering pump with the reservoir can be removed from the engine block and put it aside. Oh, there's a ground cable on the way. Undo that one from the chassis. Like that. That's good enough. It can stay there. It's out of the way. And then remove the power steering belt from the crankshaft pulley. Pull it out. There's 3 belts, all different. You can mark them. Let's say the power steering. There's a friend watching. Make sure we're doing everything right. He watches lots of cars. Got fixed. Is inspector. Yeah. All right. Now we're ready to continue. Spray the penetrating oil on exhaust bolts. They're rusted and corroded. Could be hard to remove them. Okay, now we need to undo the AC compressor bracket. We don't need to disconnect the AC lines, they're under the high pressure. We just need to remove the AC compressor from the engine block, same way we remove the power steering pump. There's a 1 bolt long stud bolt at the top, remove that guy. And there's 4 bolts on the side, remove those ones. And then you just need to pull the air compressor out and just let it hang. And we don't need that guy anymore. Just use a wire or bungee cord to hang that air compressor, AC compressor pump on the side of the engine bay. Make sure it's just out of the way. Like so. Works great. Simple. Okay, now we need to disconnect the heater core lines. There is a 2 at the firewall. Then we'll do fuel lines. Okay, then with the side there's a gearbox, all that wiring, hoses around. We'll start with the starter, undo the wires to the starter. There's the main hot wire. Disconnect that. Undo the bracket. All wires and harnesses attached to the engine needs to be disconnected or removed. Take the harness bracket off. Just pull it aside. Yeah, disconnect the sensor, disconnect the temperature sensor. There's 2 bolts holding the starter to the engine block. Undo those 2. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It will really help to grow the channel, and YouTube will recommend this helpful video to more people. And yeah, it's all about just helping each other, share the knowledge, information which can be used and save the buck. There's another bolt on the side, a little bit tight, not enough clearance. You can get it from the bottom. Okay, and pull the starter motor out. Here we go. Simple design. Disconnect the connector from the distributor. Now we need to undo the fuel line, put a rag, because some fuel will be spilled. It's tight. Okay. Break it up. Disconnect the fuel line from the fuel filter. Save the washers. There's 2 copper washers on both sides of the fuel line connector. Put them back on a bolt and screw it inside the filter housing. Like so, wipe the gasoline. disconnect the vacuum line to the brake booster from the upper part of the intake manifold. Put it aside. Remove the throttle body cable by removing the bracket. Don't play with the bolts and nuts, just remove the bracket. You don't want to mess up the adjustments. Remove the cable from the butterfly valve by pulling out the stopper. Will come out. There's a slot for it. Put it aside. Started bolts back. Then you don't need to look for them. To disconnect the fuel injectors, there's a Mark 1 connector at the top, whereas a valve. There are pretty much the same connectors on the same harness. It will be easier for us when we're going to install. Undo the connectors. All four. Pull the harness to the side, like that. Remove the hose to the fuel pressure regulator. Pull it out. Stiff. There you go. We'll break it up. Slide it off. Now we're at the side of the firewall. There is a harness attached to the bottom part of the intake manifold. There is a bolt needs to be removed, some clamps, some little plastic holders. All that needs to be disattached and removed from the manifold. You got an idea. You look between the firewall and intake manifold. You will see all that wiring and harnesses there. Undo those ones. Remove the connector from the throttle body. Disconnect the connector from the alternator. Undo the hot wire from the alternator as well. That nut. Put a nut back. Okay, now we need to remove the torque convector cover at the bottom of the gearbox. There is a few 10mm bolts. Remove them. There's one big bolt. Remove that guy. A 17mm. Okay, we remove that cover plate. There is our torque convector. Those 10mm bolts all the way around the drive plate and torque convector. Make the reference mark. At the driver's side, we'll need to remove the mud guard. There's a few 10mm bolts to get access to the crankshaft pulley. It's over here. Put your 19mm socket and ratchet on a crankshaft pulley bolt. We need to rotate the crankshaft to get access to those torque convector drive plate bolts. As you can see, there's the 10mm bolts. I'm using the short socket, 3/8. Start removing those bolts one by one. Turn the crankshaft. Until next bolt will show up. Get all those bolts removed. There's another one. There are a bunch of them around. There's another one. You'll get back to that yellow reference mark. As you can see, there was the last bolt. Undo all of them. Here we go. As you can see, drive plate and torque convector now is free. They're not bolted together anymore. Alright, safety first, safety goggles. Now we're going to undo the 3 downpipe exhaust bolts. We sprayed them already. They have been sucking for a while. They should come out. We don't want to break those studs. Use the safety goggles. Enjoy the view. Okay, now we need to undo those nuts. These are 3 studs, and we need to remove those 3 nuts. 1, and there's one in the middle and another one on the opposite side. Okay, you got an idea. Here we go, nice and easy. We didn't break the stud. That's a victory. Okay, as you can see, 3 of them removed. Success. It's free. Okay, next there is a bracket holding the pipe. Remove those 2 nuts. Okay, disconnect the oxygen sensor. As you can see, the pipe is hanging down, but it's still attached at the down pipe resonator, and we're going to cut. There's 2 spring-loaded bolts. They're very rusted and corroded. We're not going to reuse them. We just will put in new ones, and those nuts almost impossible to remove. Just cut it off with the angle grinder and pull the pipe out. Like so. Didn't take long. Take the ratchet out. Okay, first I'm going to try with a 19mm socket and my rigid half-inch impact to remove that nut. Nope, no success, failed. Let's go Milwaukee. It has way more torque, it's way more impact. I'm using both because Milwaukee has lots of torque power. It can even snap and break the bolt. And let's try it with just a regular socket. Oh boy, she's resisting. Okay, one more try. Nope, too tight, need a special socket. Okay, let's one more try. Might get it loose. Oh, that's hard. It's very tight. Then a few days later, socket came from Amazon, a special socket for removing crankshaft bolt on Hondas. Like so, look at that big sucker, very heavy, lots of meat. And that will increase the impact torque for removing that crankshaft bolt. It's really hard to remove. Look at that thickness of this socket. It's 19mm, but it's heavy and it's thick. Plus impact torque will get that bolt loose. Look at that regular one. It's skinny. No way. That's the way to go. Okay. There's a socket. That's really what you need. Earmuffs. I always use them when I operate the impacts, and safety goggles. Okay. Now we're all set up. We'll fully charge almost 3 bars. Let's try it now. You will see the difference. Yeah, this is the first time filming and first time trying with this socket. And look at that, how easy is it? Like a butter, like nothing, like 10mm with a 3/4 inch ratchet. Huh. You need this socket if you have Hondas and you need to remove that crankshaft pulley. This is a way to go, otherwise it sucks. Okay, we have that disconnected. Now we need to undo the alternator bolts to remove the alternator from the engine bracket. Those are hard to film, but you got an idea. Those are bolts holding the alternator, one on bottom, one on the top, like so. And then we'll remove the belt and remove the pulley. Okay, I'm reaching that bolt with my 1/2 inch long enough extension drive with a 17, I think, mil socket. There's a one on one side, a nut on one side of the bolt, and you just get that nut loose and you will be able to pull the bolt. Here we go, there's a little nut. As I said, there's another one on top. Undo that guy. It's just facing another direction. Yeah, tight spots is just sometimes hard to film, but you got an idea. Oh, there is a belt for the alternator and our pulley. You need to remove the pulley to get enough room to pull the engine out. Without removing pulley, no way, it won't come out. You need those couple inches. Look at the thickness of this pulley. As a slot, it will go only in one direction. Okay, our pulley removed, success. I'll get your cherry picker ready, some straps, make sure you're having that already. Because we're getting close to that point when we need to split the engine from the gearbox, but we still quite a few things to remove. Okay, on one side we need to run a strap, and there's another engine mount We need to remove that one. And there is another mount on the bottom, mounted to the frame, bolted to the chassis. We need to remove that guy as well. I see that rubber part tore apart. Those gearbox housing bolts holding the transmission to the engine. We need to remove them. As you can see, I started them, and what I noticed, they're all the same length. I didn't know that, but I left them in holes. Get yourself extension and braking bar. Was hard to get there with the impact. I work it out by hand. Get them loose like so. Good. Start it at the top. Move it down to the sides. And then go with a ratchet and finish them by hand. So what I do, take your time, nice and easy, relax, no hurry, no stress. Just get it all done right, sort it out all parts. Alright, there's a 17mm socket with a 1/2" extension drive. Now we need to undo the front of the engine bracket from the frame. The engine is still sitting on that bracket. Undo that. Okay, here's a bracket to the angle gear. To the engine, there's 2 bolts. Remove them from the engine. And then I found it's easier for maneuvering. Remove that 3rd one as well. Okay, there is a AC compressor bracket, same for the bottom engine mount on the front of the engine. We need to remove those 4 bolts and it will come out. As you can see, just a cast iron bracket. Now we have plenty of room. Go with the impact 1/2", works great. Get those 4 bolts out. You got an idea. Camera is filming, facing down. So fast and easy with the power tools, no hassle. I like this angle filming. Alright, last bolt almost removed. I couldn't get there with the impact. I finished with the ratchet. Old school way. You see that bracket already loose. Few more threads on a bolt. And almost ready to come out. Someone might say it's so detailed, but if you don't want to watch it, you can skip it. If you needed to know, here you go, you're all equipped. And I think it will help one person. Oh man, I'm so happy. That will serve someone really well. Okay, as you can see now it's ready to come out with the idler pulley, and that rubber part of that engine mount was already finished. It's broken. Put all bolts in place. We're going to use some parts of it. We'll replace that bottom mount with a new one. It's all separated. Okay, Now time to remove another part of that bracket which broke. There's only 2 bolts. Remove those ones. Impact helps. And here we go, as you can see. That should be one piece. That part will be replaced with a new one. Right, there's a few more bolts to remove under the vehicle. There's a bracket from the transmission to the engine block. 1, 2. As you can see, those bolts, you need to undo those ones. Okay. Luckily, was plenty of room even get with a 1/2-inch impact. I could do that easy and fast. These long bolts. And bottom one. Oh. As I said, let's take that 3rd bolt off. I figured out like it's not enough just undo the bolts from the bottom of the engine block. I just remove a whole bracket. It will give you more room to pull the engine. Put the jack stand under the gearbox to support it from underneath, because we're going to split the engine and transmission. Make sure it has a support from the bottom. Get that one done. Okay, there is a rear engine mount, whereas a transmission gearbox meeting the engine. There's a remove the bolt. We already took those engine mount bolts from the engine block, and now that bracket should come out, as you can see. Okay, there's a couple more on the bottom still. One. I need to reverse it because it was tight. To pull the impact out, just got them loose with impact, pull the impact out and finish them by hand. It's pretty tight, as you can see. There's the bolts, and the bracket is ready to come out from the top. You go underneath, okay, put it all in one container, engine mount bolts, and now that bracket can be removed. As you can see, there's a power steering subframe is still there, and the bushing still attached. We'll just remove the part in between the engine and bushing. It's a rear engine mount at the firewall side to the power steering subframe, whatever you call it. Check those harnesses and wires, make sure nothing attached to the down side of the intake manifold. There's a bracket. See those bolts we're dealing with? There's some more we need to remove, especially for the CV axle. There's a 1, 2 bolts for the CV axle. I stick my phone to show you guys, but it's really tight. But you got an idea. You need to undo that CV axle bracket support from the engine block. Undo those bolts before you start separating the. I think there's 3 bolts. There is also a sensor for the oil pressure. Okay, now we still have 1 bolt in place at the bottom of the gearbox. So that one I would do at the last. Okay, because we don't want a transmission get split from the engine before we undo the bracket. Now you see I pull the bolt because all those brackets and all those connections removed. Now it's split. That's the way you need to do it, otherwise you'll fight. That will be a total mess. And we removed some bolts. Engine is hanging on a strap. There's a cherry picker holding the engine. Previously we undid the 1 bolt on the bracket. Now we need to remove those ones. Remove from the engine. There's 1, 2. We removed the 1 already at the bushing. Then we're taking the bracket off completely. You see the engine shifted down and sunk a little bit because nothing's holding. It just hangs on a strap supported by the cherry picker crane. Okay, all bolts, nuts, parts, connectors, fasteners are put in separated containers, and then it will be easier for us to put everything back together. As you can see, I sorted every single bolt and nut and all parts in place. Alright, there's our engine mount bolts all in place as well. We'll keep them there. Then we move the compressor to the side and we'll start prying the engine from the gearbox. It doesn't matter if you have the manual transmission, it's even easier. You don't have those torque convector bolts, but same principle can be applied. You'll get it. If you don't know, just ask in the comments, we'll try to help you. Okay, now we are splitting and prying the engine out from transmission. We have a jack stand under the gearbox, a torque convector there. You can see they're already split up. It's pretty much it. Now the time to check, make sure nothing's attached to the engine before we'll start lifting it up. See that pulley we removed, those 2 inches, that's what we need to move the engine to the right if you're looking from the front. Okay, then you check where's the firewall, make sure nothing's attached on that side. One more time. And when you lift in the engine, wiggle, make sure it's free, not rubbing on anything, not attaching, because it will try to cut on those hoses, wires, and just work it out the engine way up and out, kind of like that. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, click that notification bell. Yeah, any questions related to this engine swap removal, yeah, ask down in the comments below. We'll try my best to answer. Yeah, just see that's fuel line got cut down. All those coolant hoses, just stick them, make sure they're not attaching anything, and pretty much see the engine is coming out. It's free. Yeah, on the video it's a 45 minutes. In real life took around 4 hours. It's the first time doing. That engine had a broken timing belt. And there's other problems with that engine. It needs to be replaced. Yeah, it's almost out, and what I noticed, I just strapped the hood all the way up. It doesn't sit on a hood stand because that didn't work out. I didn't have a room to lift it that high up, and I just strapped the hood all the way open. And it's coming out slowly. It's almost a half out. There's a check for, there's a crankshaft position sensor, we forgot. Disconnect that guy. Now it's easy to reach. That's why I'm saying just look around, take your time, no rush. Look, make sure everything's going smooth, nice and easy. You will disconnected everything. But if you check twice, you never will miss. Okay, continue going up. There's a AC line trying to stop us. Yeah, that's almost the end of the video, but thank you so much for watching, guys. Yeah, all the way to the end. Now, still a little bit to go until it will be completely out of the engine bay. I'm lifting and watching the engine. See, it's coming. There we go. It's all the way out from the engine bay now. Still want to go a little bit higher, just past the front part of the vehicle. See, my oil pan. Yeah, that's the engine. We pull it out. As I said, it looks complicated. It looked that way, but when you think about it, what someone's doing, oh yeah, you can do it. Yeah, why not? You're capable, just as everyone can do it. It just, if you have a way, oh god, if you want to do it, you will get it. If you won't do it, you will find the excuse. Alright, now is the time to lower the engine down. I have an old tire on the ground. I will put the engine there for now, let it sit. Yeah, slowly drop it down. Yeah, make sure engine won't sit on a drive plate. It can be damaged, then you will need to replace. Still lots of good parts can be used from that engine. Just avoid any unnecessary damages, and yeah, here we go. Thank you so much, guys, again, and I wish this video will serve you well and help you if you have the same issue. Need to swap the engine. Okay, as soon as we'll find another new engine to install, we'll get it. Alright, stay safe and see you soon. Bye bye.